Hello and welcome to the TMC Newsroom. Thanks so much for watching. My name is Rich Tehrani, and on our program is Andrew Sachs, who is the VP of Product Management at Volicon. Hello, Andrew.
Hi, thanks for having me, Rich.
Thanks for being here. I thought it would make sense to talk a little bit about your company and some of your new products. I figured we'd start by learning more about Volicon and what you're up to these days.
Sure. Okay. So Volicon's a leader in broadcast monitoring and logging, as well as assurance systems for cable and IPTV operators. Been around for about 6 years, and really bringing tools that allow broadcasters to do monitoring and logging, compliance, content repurposing, ad verification, as well as solutions for the cable and IPTV space to really give QoE monitoring a record of the real customer experience for these important pay TV operators.
And so if you have to put your customers into categories, what are those categories?
So we have sort of the broadcasters, networks, stations side of the house. Really people producing linear content, feeding to either over-the-air or pay TV operators. And then the cable IPTV service providers that deliver premium, managed video services into the consumers' homes. And then to a certain extent, we're starting to see some progress in the hospitality video industry as well.
And what are some of the challenges that these customers have?
So in the sort of hyper-competitive world of pay TV and cable and IPTV and potentially over the top, the operators and the networks are really faced with the challenge of ensuring that the quality of the high definition and soon to be other 3D TV or interactive TV services are being delivered properly. Sometimes it could be as simple as an interface or a handoff that goes on between a broadcaster and a cable or IPTV operator, making sure that that's monitored for its SLAs, ensuring that that those signals are good quality, and if we have an issue, that they're able to troubleshoot it quickly. For cable and IPTV operators, it's really one of guaranteeing that all these sort of interactive services on demand, a lot of the ways that they're competing with other forms of entertainment, to make sure that those services are operational all the way to the customer, assuring that that customer experience, which isn't just a linear channel being delivered, but could be composed of linear channels, interactive experiences, on-demand access, start over TV, that all those things are working properly and guaranteed, so the customers don't actually have to call in and complain.
Now, how do you assist with some of these challenges?
Okay, good question. So the customers, we'll say with the cable and IPTV operators, end up with really a great deal of traffic from their call centers, trying to push them to guarantee the quality of the delivered video. There's really a couple of ways you can help them, and a couple of ways that Volicon helps them. One is giving them tools to effectively troubleshoot all the way to the edge of their network. They get, maybe they find out about a trouble from a location. They want to isolate, is this something happening inside the network, is it something isolated to a particular customer? So having tools that allow them to sort of reach out to the edge of the network and check to whether that problem is there or not are critical, right? And this is all the way to the customer experience. So the second thing is if they have problems that are really sort of chronic in nature, lots of times these can be small areas. They can be a small number of problems, but take a lot of the manpower inside of a organization. Being able to log these events and being able to isolate, when they're happening and when they're not happening, and have a record of that, really enables the operator to not spend a great deal of time, having to fault isolate these chronic things. And then finally, in the proactive monitoring, it's one thing to react to troubles. It's a much better business case if I can actually avoid the customer complaints in the first place. And in here, our systems, particularly the RPM, enable the operator to go out, monitor their linear, on-demand, and even interactive services on a proactive nature, and then alert the operator to help address any issues before the customers actually start to call into a call center.
So RPM is a relatively new in terms of its name, right? It's a new product, but it's got some legacy history.
Yeah, so Volicon really got its initial start is really in broadcast monitoring and logging, and our Observer and Observer Enterprise and Professional product line are really sort of the flagships for broadcast logging, compliance, air check. About 3 years ago, Volicon took that, or 4 years ago, Volicon took that technology and they brought it into the world of cable and IPTV. And they said, let's take this quality of experience, this continuous logging, and let's put that into a cable system. Let's allow it to check through an entire lineup of channels and do those same checks and continuous logging, but do it for a pay TV operator. And that product was called the RPM, or Remote Program Monitor. We've now just announced a 5.5 version of this product that includes interactive services verification. So a great deal of capability put into being able to do things like script and pattern match on the screen and be able to interact with the set-top box and test the services much like a user might. So in a typical operator, you might have people whose job it is to run through a checklist periodically and check that this on demand is there, or check this lineup. We take those checklists and try to automate as much of them as possible, maybe 80%, so that we will let you know on a more continuous basis of those problems, and we'll free up your manpower to do other things that are more useful. In addition to this proactive monitoring, this RPM can also be used in a troubleshooting mode, much like you might use a consumer place shifting tool today. But instead of just helping you do troubleshooting, because it logs continuously, you can go back a day, a week, and look at, what happened yesterday at 2 o'clock, and really help you, not have to wait for the next time a fault occurs to isolate it. So the RPM helps you do both that monitoring as well as that troubleshooting.
This is recorded.
Yep,
Basically.
records 24/7.
So as opposed to setting up a place shifting tool, or let's say a bunch of place shifting tools out on the network that are in turn potentially being recorded and being done on kind of a ad hoc, piecemeal basis,
Right.
you bring the concept of this kind of consumer technology, which is being used in some networks to monitor, into a more professional product, which allows operators to have a more of a guaranteed quality level that's not reactive, but you're proactive in this case, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So today you see a lot of the consumer devices out there being used just for troubleshooting. No ability to record, no ability to go back in time. Really only there to allow you to detect things that are hard down today. What if I could have those tools there, give me access to them, make them multi-user, allow me to manage them centrally, allow them to scan through channels, detect faults, automatically send them to me, and record all of this, so that if I have an issue, I've got a really good record, an AV record that allows me to troubleshoot very effectively. What if I could do that? And that's really what we bring to the operators. So sort of all the challenges, part of the challenges the operators have is that they've put a great deal of services into the network, ad insertion all the way to the edge, switch digital video, or interactive systems. But without a view of what that customer experience is, lots of times it's very difficult for them to isolate when this stuff's going on, or worse yet, they have to wait, until a lot of customers complain before they can figure out where the problems are. Our tool allows them to do that trouble isolation, as well as be proactive about it, so that they can help eliminate the calls coming into the centers.
Now you have another product called Scout.
Yep. So the Scout is really targeted for both cable, IPTV, as well as broadcasters and even hospitality. And it's really designed to operate in remote environments and give the operators that are doing handoffs or into remote locations an ability to troubleshoot their video streams. So this could be a broadcaster, maybe that's a customer of ours today for the logging system, and they have to hand off to 20, 30, or 40 other IPTV or cable operators, and they need to be able to check that those services are being handled and handed off properly. There's typically SLAs being written around the quality of those handoffs. When there's issues that come up, they need to be able to trouble isolate quickly, and they need a cost-effective tool to do this. So the Scout is really designed to operate in remote environments, able to be deployed reliably and securely in a large geography, and be able to access inexpensively, and then giving the operator the tools to proactively monitor and be able to trouble isolate quickly on those handoffs for cable and IPTV.
So at the top of this segment, you mentioned that your solutions help companies with advertising as well, and that's one of the areas that you assist. So if I'm using your solutions and let's say I'm a network that has advertisers, and let's say I'm a content provider, I've got a bunch of advertisers that need access to information, or let's say I'm a cable provider and I need to prove to my advertisers that the ads are running okay. What do I currently do if I'm not using a solution from a company like yours?
So lots of times we have, actually probably the sort of the old standard for ad verification is, proving and sending a log that I actually inserted an ad. And that's a sort of a big discrepancy between what happens with cable and IPTV versus what goes on with broadcasters. The broadcasters, because they log continuously their content with systems, from Volicon, with the Observer and Observer Enterprise, they're able to actually produce the as-delivered AV content, so the customer can see the pre-roll, the ad itself, and the post-roll. Cable and IPTV is getting critically, the local ad insertion and the targeting is getting to be a very critical part of the advertising eco chain. The current system of just saying that I have a log and the ad ran isn't really good enough to make those advertisers satisfied.
It's more difficult to verify, isn't it? If everyone's seeing different ads at different times.
How do I know what you put
Right.
out? Right. And how do I know what you put out is what I gave you?
Right.
It's a big challenge, and I think we're seeing a lot of cable and IPTV operators really shift into a true ad assurance model where they actually want a copy of the ad. The RPM is able to go in, trigger in, actually record these delivered local ads, and then allow the operator to export those and prove that the ads were delivered as they were contractually promised.
And in the right quality, right?
In the right quality, in the right place, with the right ad. And even cases like we've had cases where interactive elements are tied to linear ads might be tied to interactive ads, and verifying that a linear ad, maybe when it scopes in for an interactive ad, is actually being tied to the right interactive ad. So
right.
that a Coke linear ad doesn't tie to an interactive Pepsi
Sure.
commercial, right?
That would be bad.
That would be that would definitely not get you the next round of advertising dollars. So
we talked about automated video quality of service, and I was hoping you could just give us just a brief overview of how you can achieve that.
Okay, so the RPM and the Scout and the Observer all have a QoE measurement model, and it looks for everything as basic as static screen, black screen, audio levels, and outages. And then on top of that, because it logs the content continuously all the way into an HD format, the advertisers can, or the service providers and the networks can use it to check everything from HD accuracy to lip sync to the actual video quality. And some of it, it's a troubleshooting tool, but with the continuous log, it really allows you to know exactly what went out at those times, and you're not left kind of wondering, I have numbers and the numbers look okay, or no one reported an error, what really happened. If there's a question about what I went out to air, about the question of the quality or something, I can go back and look at it and verify, what actually was put out into our system.
So for older kung fu movies, are you able to turn the lip sync check off to make sure that it doesn't interfere?
Right now, we don't do an automated kung fu lip sync check. Maybe we could actually correct the English, right? And time shift it for them. The tool, really, there are certain things that we can do in sort of a reference and a no reference environment. Most operations kind of deploy in a no-reference world where you can't get an original copy of it. So you're really limited in those cases to testing for black screen, static screen, audio level, and then visually verifying the contents that's there. So the RPM, the Observer, and the Scout really focus on giving you a log anywhere from 3 days to 90 days or more of that content.
Depending on how much hard disk you want to buy.
Yep. How much hard disk? What's your troubleshooting window? When do you have to actually prove to your customers, or to the regulatory authorities what you put out?
Sure.
And this allows them, this allows you to go back and trouble isolate when you have issues. Typically, when those issues happen, they're very hard to they're very hard to isolate because if you don't have a record of what went out.
Right.
With our tool, you have that record, and you can know, and you can export and check and improve to maybe a network equipment manufacturer or someone else. Hey, here's what we saw. Please fix it. So it allows you to do very quick resolution of the issues as well as isolate what the cause is.
So what's next for the company?
I think you'll see Volicon really focus on making broadcast and cable and IPTV successful. We do a lot of work, and we're doing a lot of work with our customers in streaming content. That's not just to the set-top box. So I think you'll see some progress from us in assuring those types of over-the-top video systems. But I think our customers will tell us in the end.
Awesome. Thanks for being on the program. It was great.
All right. Thanks for your time, Rich.